Welcome to episode 29 of Rebirth Revolution. My name is Melissa Olson. Okay, it's been a head-spinning week. So much has happened since the last podcast. And look at you, you're still upright. Things are happening at warp speed. You've taken it all in and adjusted your life in ways you could not have imagined just a few weeks ago. For the last few years, I had thought almost daily that we had hit the bottom. That thought was both bad and good. Whatever the event was, it was something horrifying, shocking, or at bare minimum disheartening. I just felt bad that it had gotten to that point. But the upside was that we were ready for the bounce. We were ready for the correction. We had taken it to the extreme and were ready to course correct. These thoughts began years ago, and I continue to have them daily. Now I see that it is being suggested that the best thing the elderly could do for their grandchildren is to die. That would magically bring back the stock market and everything would be fine again. Just think about that. Really let it soak in. The followers have been asked to ignore everything that was a lie. They have been asked to overlook everything that was corrupt. They have been asked to go into battle for their leader. Now they are being told to willingly get the virus and die a painful death. It is their civic duty. I know we have all been numbed by the overload of awfulness in these past few years, but you really need to take this in and understand exactly where we are. You need to understand what happens when low-level people are in control. This sort of suggestion makes perfect sense to low-level people. The panic about the virus is, in my opinion, rooted less in the virus than it is in the fact that those in charge have consistently lied about it. Those in charge have not prepared for it and continue to not prepare for it. Almost everyone can deal with life if they know what they're dealing with. No one does well with uncertainty. We know enough about this virus that has run its course through other countries that we should be able to respond appropriately. We have the knowledge and the innovative spirit that should help us find our way through it. But low-level people lie. Low-level people are only guided by their own self-interest. Low-level people cannot delay gratification. Low-level people do not care about the effects of their words and actions. If you listen to episode 5 of Rebirth Revolution, you will understand the words and actions of those in charge. So here they are, asking the elderly to sacrifice their lives so that people may line their pockets. How they think massive deaths and the collapse of the medical system will improve the economy has not been explained. We are in dangerous times. We must be the opposition. We must hold everyone accountable and hold them to a much higher standard. This cannot be the way we all go out. As French philosopher and mathematician Blaise Pascal observed back in the 1600s, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. We are only days into this emergency, and people are ready to willfully endanger others against all medical advice. Could it be that those who currently lead us, who have demonstrated that they are working at the lower levels of spiritual awareness, simply can't sit with this and learn what it has to teach? Do they actually think that they can decide when the lesson is over, or that what will follow, if they cannot sit quietly with it, will not be much, much worse? I absolutely subscribe to the theory that when we need to make a change, we will first get a tap on the shoulder. If we choose to ignore the tap, it will become a push to the shoulder. Every time we choose to ignore the warning, it will escalate into something that is harder and harder to ignore. It ends with a brick to the side of the head that knocks you out. We always get to decide when we will recognize the warning, and in doing so, we are also choosing how painful the warning will be and how difficult it will be to survive. We ignored the tap. We have sustained many blows to the body, and we are about to get the brick to the head. This is the time when you need to address the 2020 resolution number 2. Here's what I said about resolution number 2 in episode 17. This will be the year when you are firmly on your own team, promoting what moves you forward. There will always be those who are against you, but you're not going to be on their team. You're going to be the captain of your own team. You will be your own strongest source of strength and backup. Being on your own team becomes more and more important as we are now in a world where the entire planet can weigh in on what they think of us. It's important too because the worst position to be in is one where you need the judgment of others to bolster you. You need to be capable of moving through this world, doing the right thing, no matter what anyone else thinks. We are living in a time when many people are being tested to see if they will live up to their beliefs. This is the year that your beliefs will become crystal clear to you so you can determine if you are on or off track with each choice you make. It is vital that you have your own back at all times. Those who would like you to abandon your beliefs will do everything they can to shut you up. It's to be expected. But this is the year that you will forge ahead anyway. This is the year you will feel pride in yourself for doing what you have determined to be right, not being swayed by peer pressure. There only needs to be one person on your team. You are the team captain and the MVP. Your strength and courage will display for others that they can be the captains of their own team. So how does this apply to the pandemic? You need to understand that in this moment, those in power may not have your best interests in mind. They may make decisions that will put you and your family at risk. This is the year when we will not capitulate. We are the leaders of our own team. We make the decisions about how to proceed. We will employ the attributes of the higher levels of spiritual awareness, which include taking into account how your actions will affect others. Also, the ability to be wrong and course correct. We will accept information that we don't have from others, and above all, we're going to act with integrity. We are all being called upon to do what is right, not just right for us, but the universal right. In this moment, we are all being asked to feel love and compassion for ourselves and others. It's pretty tough, right? I struggle with this concept every bit as much as everyone else does. It is beyond challenging to feel love and compassion for people who I feel are trying to kill us. I struggle to find goodwill in my heart for those who willfully ignore scientific principles and for those who gleefully belong to a cult that is now asking them to drink the Kool-Aid. I feel sympathy for those who are being duped, but their need to be cruel and reckless with the lives of others makes it hard to embrace them. It is part of the system that we feel repelled by people who are at the lowest levels. It is self-preservation to stay away from those who surely mean to do you harm. So we will need to try to have love and compassion for them from afar and shore up our own strength to be our own team captains who make our own safety and well-being our number one priority. We are here to feel all the feelings. Man, that can be tough. There are so many feelings that are brought up by this pandemic. Fear has to be the strongest of those feelings. We are all afraid because we have no idea what will happen next. In absence of reliable information, we are left to wonder, and that's a dangerous place to be. Fear ignites anxiety. Anxiety makes us feel that we should be doing something, but since we don't know what is coming next, we really don't know what to do. I find it fascinating that many people are baking bread and doing jigsaw puzzles. When we bake bread, we take ingredients, follow a process, and end up with a loaf of deliciousness that brings pride, nourishment, and a sense of accomplishment. When we do puzzles, we take all the different pieces that are broken apart and make them right by fitting them together in the only way they will go. We feel that everything broken can be restored, and the sense of accomplishment that pulling it all together brings. Maybe you are cleaning or organizing obsessively. Your brain needs to get the chemical hit of being in control and accomplishing a task. It keeps us from spinning out in an unsure world. If you haven't found a task that will give you that sense of accomplishment, this is the time to do so. Hey, that goes back to our New Year's resolution number 3. 2020 is the year to express optimism for the future through the process of creating. As was said, this is the year we will create. What will we create? It doesn't matter. The process of creation is what matters. To create is to become vulnerable and hopeful. These are good states of being when fostering growth. You could bake a cake, you could write a story, you could plant a garden, you could dabble in watercolors or learn an instrument. You could remake a room in your house or space outside. Creating is the act of taking your thoughts and dreams and making them realities. You will learn about yourself in doing so. When consuming what others create, you are living in their world. When you create, you are changing the world you live in. You are also changing the future, because whether it's a seed you planted that will bloom later, or a story you write that will be a record for future generations, it is your way of changing the future. The future needs more of you in it. Fear, felt too long, slips into despair and depression. This is so much easier to feel when you're isolated. Isolation is also doing a number on us. I am a happy introvert, and am surprised to find I feel a strong longing to be with people who I'm currently isolated from. It's better to think of feelings like a math problem. Uncertainty equals fear. Fear plus inability to act equals anxiety. Fear plus isolation equals despair and depression. Simplifying these equations lets us step back and label what we are feeling and bring to it the appropriate response. If you are feeling fearful and anxious, do something. Create something. Give your brain a win. If you are feeling despair and depression, connect with someone. Online chats where you see each other go a long way to bridge the gap that being quarantined creates. What comes up for us when we are extracted from what was our real life and removed from our normal routine is a true look inside. Everything we feel is valid. If you aren't feeling a bunch of emotions now, you aren't paying attention. I find I cry multiple times a day, both at things that are terrible and acts of beauty and love and connection, the good stuff. But this time is the perfect time for you to build an arsenal of everything that brings you joy, everything that delights you, everything that interests and grows you. That list is different for each and every person, and each person's list is essential to getting through these times. See resolution number 6. It's also a time when you're going to need to build and defend boundaries. You do not have the emotional bandwidth to take on the anxieties of those who need to do their own work. See resolution 9. This is the year we grant everyone the freedom to figure out their own path and their own solutions. The work of listening to the signals that are coming from inside your body and mind, and then responding with the appropriate remedy, is the work that we all need to do to grow. Don't limit someone else's growth by solving this for them. The world we inhabited just weeks ago didn't give us the quiet, the space, or the time to get bored. Few had the opportunity to sit quietly in a room alone. We didn't have to face boredom or any other uncomfortable feelings. We could always jump up, run out the door, and do something that shut it down. Children were scheduled to within an inch of their lives. They had no idea what boredom was. Let's welcome boredom and embrace it as the place where we can figure ourselves out, which was resolution number 1, and bring our best, strongest selves to the task of building our new world. It's going to be a magnificent place. Thanks for listening to Rebirth Revolution. I hope it helps you sort things out and bring some level of peace. Let us know if we can answer a question you have or untangle a concern. Please pass along this podcast to everyone who you think may need it. They can get the podcast everywhere you get podcasts or on YouTube. I've attached to the podcast description a YouTube video of a woman who survived the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918. I share it to remind you that people have been through the unthinkable and went on to live wonderful lives. The woman, Edna Register Boone, died in 2011 at the age of 104. We need to remember that everyone that came before us dealt with struggles that they overcame. You can do the same. Until next week, listen to yourself. Cultivate joy in your life. Be gentle with yourself and others, and compile your list of everything that makes you happy. Remember, you are loved exactly as much as every other person on the planet, not 1 ounce more or 1 ounce less. Stay strong, and most of all, stay safe.